So I could have just played Super Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo, because the Super Nintendo shoved the word Super into every video game on it. Kirby Superstar, Super Castlevania 4, Super Punch-Out, Super Metroid, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. But you know what? The Genesis needs love too. So this is Super Street Fighter 2 for the Sega Genesis. There is one particular rule I do want to point out. On the options menu. This game has a super mode. So, we're on normal, which means we get the typical arcade route of 12 fighters and bonus modes. If you pick expert, you ignore the bonus stages and you fight all 16 characters. Ain't nobody got time for that. And you know what? I haven't done an arcade route of Street Fighter 2 with Bison that contained his ending. Why not now? And we're doing it as Milkman Bison, because it's my favorite color, and really, the M stands for Milkman. Change my mind. So, going back to replay the Genesis version, after playing other console versions... Oh. I got behind me? Going back to play these particular versions, it's like one step forward, 2 steps back. Because it is Super Street Fighter 2, but the audio sounds lesser quality. Like, even things like basic punches and kicks sound real crunchy. I ain't gonna do it. Yeah, I'm just trying to bait his Dragon Punch, but it ain't doing. He normally does Dragon Punch after Tatsu. Alright. Like, sometimes he'll wake up DP through it, but other times you get him at the right frame and he just can't deal. I'd say Bison is the character I've played most throughout the entirety of Street Fighter 2. It wasn't always the case. When I started playing Street Fighter 2 seriously with Super Turbo, it became the case. And really, when you go from a Shoto to a charged character, your matchups tend to change. Your mindset tends to change. I mean, with Bison, you have several ways to just get across the screen. No problem. We're good. Oh, not even gonna let me double perfect you, man? The one Street Fighter character in Street Fighter 2 designed by an American, DJ. As far as the Sega Genesis goes, it wasn't really a console you saw a lot of fighting games on. I mean, there were original fighters designed with the Genesis in mind. Obviously, your Eternal Champions comes to mind. But there's a small issue with that. It's the Genesis controller. The one you got to play for your Sonic the Hedgehogs comes with 3 face buttons and a start button. Aside from the D-pad, that is the only control you get. And that's a problem for something like Street Fighter. When Street Fighter 2 came to the Sega Genesis, a compromise was forced. If you have a 3-button controller, you will either get only punches or only kicks. And that's a problem. Because in order to switch between them, you have to press the start button. Means you can't pause the game. The only time you can pause the game are on these screens right here. Like, the victory screen is the only time you can pause the game. Victory screens, versus screens... like, they're the only way. For Bison, I just tend to mix up my mediums and heavies. It's a lot. Bison doesn't have it as easy as other characters. But when you're comparing fighting games released on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis simultaneously, which, for the most part, are a very exclusive club of fighting games with publishers that are like, the hell with it, we just gotta release it on everything. Where's that Game Gear version? Genesis versions often felt inferior. I mean, obviously you had Mortal Kombat, and that was the one with blood. But you have to give up so much if you're playing that on the Genesis. Mostly playability. I mean, obviously, I'm using a 6-button controller, and both Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Special Championship Edition, the Sega Genesis had to get a special version, and Super Street Fighter 2 have 6-button options. Eternally Bison's worst match. Because if a Ryu is on point and dancing rent-free in your head, he can keep you out. I don't want you to keep me out. I want to get in. Because when we get in, that happens. I've always liked how tricky Bison's movement is. If he wants to get around, he gets around. He doesn't mind throwing caution to the wind to do so. I mean, obviously, Psycho Crusher is an invitation to get enthroned. Slide is an invitation to just eat everything. And Knee Press has longer charge timing than Psycho Crusher. So if you really want to use it, you basically have... the opponent is reading gigantic warning signs. But to me, Bison is one of those characters that just doesn't have to play by the rules. You wake up and then suddenly I'm stomping you from above. And who knows what direction I'll end up in. It could be any direction. Plus, it's weird because depending on what game Bison is in, any move can be his best move. Take SVC Chaos, for example. In SVC Chaos, Head Stomp is his best move because 50-50s. Champion Edition, Knee Press is his best move. It's weird things like that. Alright. I could see that Miss Chun-Li's just gonna relax and try out her fireball game for a bit. That's real nice. I was thinking of upping my torpedo game. Alright, same deal here. Gonna do some roundhouses fast. It's interesting because Bison has practically the same animations for his medium normals and his heavy normals. So really, it's just the difference of startup.
Brazil. Round 1, fight.
But really, if you're a Genesis kid, you don't have a Super Nintendo, this isn't a bad option. But it needs a few added expenses for it to become an ideal option.
You win. Round 2, fight.
I mean, obviously, it has things like group battles. It has modes. There's many modes. You saw there was a tournament option on there. And that's really nice for the 1990s when you've got a neighborhood of kids that want to play Street Fighter 2 with you, but over time, how often are you going to use those options? Ah. I'm so used to Street Fighter 4 Bison at this point, where his roundhouse kick is a relatively good anti-air. You are not normally this aggressive with Blanca Ball. Really testing the waters with that defense. I could have tried him after the Blanca Ball attempt, after the jumping punches, but I didn't want to take chances.
Mexico. Round 1, fight.
I don't like fighting T-Hawk. Never have, never will.
You win. Round 2, fight.
Just everything I try to throw, he's like instant air dive. It ain't a good time.
You lose. Round 3, fight.
I would have seen his dizzy animation. Crouching.
You lose.
There goes the good ending.
Let's go.
No, I've never liked fighting T-Hawk in any capacity, especially in Street Fighter 2. Anyone who's seen my Super Turbo video knows the salt fest that came from that.
You win. Round 2, fight.
This is what you deal with. His dive just beats you.
You lose.
He just has so many moves that don't care about your game.
Round 3, fight.
And that move hit behind me. Oh, I thought I would get a dizzy. Oh, here we go again. He's waiting for me to press buttons.
You lose.
Yeah, this normally happens. We're having a good time with arcade mode, reminiscing about the Sega Genesis. T-Hawk shows up. No more fun is had. Look how much he did with jump and sweep. He's not a good time. Okay, I'll risk it.
You win.
Like, you talk about the 4 Heavenly Kings being the boss fights. T-Hawk's the boss fight of the game. The way the AI has him, he just responds immediately to most of your offense. Most of the time. Here, he's here he's being more relaxed and docile. Not a single throw in sight because he doesn't need it. Are you sure he's one of the worst characters in the game? Because he seems like one of the worst to fight.
USA. Round 1, fight.
You know, Balrog, you could very easily stop these Psycho Crushers from wrecking you if you just use your headbutt. But I don't think you're ready for that conversation yet.
Round 2, fight.
Same old Balrog, still susceptible to sweeps and low attacks. There we go.
You win.
And thus we have the bonus stage I can never get a perfect on. Because it feels like they changed properties of a lot of these barrels. Ah, you thought you would take it in one hit. No, that took two. That one takes two. Now here comes the rest of them. Feels like a bonus stage that's designed to prank you.
Boom. Round 1, fight.
Alright, Vega, talk to me. We're just gonna wear him down. That's normally the plan with Vega. Because fuck fighting him on his terms. I was charging up another one and I jumped instead.
Round 2, fight.
See, I can hop too. Bison versus Vega is a grind.
You win.
Because really, both characters can fly across the screen.
Round.
So really, it becomes a game of tag. Oh my god, that got real silent treatment there. I apologize. But it is a game of tag, thus any mistake is costly. Because next thing you know, you're on the ground, and your opponent has advantage.
Round. One. Fight. Under. Under. Uppercut.
So God is even more of a problem for Bison.
Under. Uppercut.
The only thing you really pray for in this fight is low fireball.
Under.
Because with low fireball, you have a chance to Psycho Crusher it.
Under. 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 Under.
Tiger Knee? Really?
Under. Uppercut.
I rarely see you use Tiger Knee at all.
Round. Two. Fight. Under. Under.
Yeah, this isn't over yet. This isn't over yet. I wanted to try to Psycho it, but I wasn't sure of the recovery. Oh, remember that? Remember when I said you could Psycho underneath the low fireball? Disregard, I'm stupid. I've done it before, but it's not a sure thing. Of course you're not dead.
You win. Round. One. Fight.
Okay, so, Bison Mirror. You don't have as much to worry about. It benefits you to be reckless. Bison loves to bunny hop.
You lose.
So if you're sure he's gonna jump, Psycho.
Round.
There's very little he can do. I really just chill in the back and crouch block. That's normally the way. But that doesn't make for entertaining fights now, does it? Oh, throw me, okay. I see what we're doing here.
Round 3, fight!
Alright, stuff me. Alright! That's a good kick! I forgot how good of a button that is. It's really good in the hands of something that can read your inputs.
Round 1, fight!
I think the charging might be different. Like, I've had so many dropped psychos. I've had so many dropped psychos in Genesis. This charging might be different here.
Round 2, fight!
There we go. Get tossed. Alright, this is bad. I don't like being close to you. I don't like being close to him here because there's so many different options. He could throw you. He could scissor kick you.
3, fight!
He's not bothered by the charge restrictions. I don't mind. Can't do much about it. And that is Super Street Fighter 2 for Sega Genesis. Done. This is evil. You sound biased, Mr. Announcer. Don't you want the world under Bison's rule? It's gonna be great. Not gonna be oppressive and dictatorial at all. Smooth sailing from here.